Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do an explanation of the poem Circus Elephant by Kathryn. Children, some extra information. A poem is also known as a quatrain, which means any 4-line stanza or a verse. There are many possible rhyme sequences of a poem. Some of the common ones are A, AABB, ABAB and ABCB. The poem Circus Elephant follows the rhyming scheme of ABCB, where lines 2nd and 4th rhyme and line 1st and 3rd do not rhyme. Now let's come to the poem. This poem vividly describes the thoughts of the poet about the feelings of a caged animal who has been caught for the purpose of entertainment. So children, in a circus, what do we see? We see a variety of animals like lions, elephants and bears. We also see birds like parrots and pigeons performing tricks. We also see people performing like clowns who make you laugh and trapeze artists who perform daring feats. Now the poet here wonders what would have been going on in the mind of an elephant who is brought from his natural habitat and made to live in a cage and perform for the purpose of entertainment of people. So now let's start the poem. The poem starts with a question which is posed to the readers. Let's go line wise. Does the elephant remember in the grey light before dawn old noises of the jungle in morning long gone? Now here itself we get our first figure of speech of the poem, which is interrogation. This means asking a question not for the sake of getting an answer, but to put a point more effectively. This figure of speech is also known as rhetorical question. So the poet is not asking a direct question to the readers, but is asking a rhetorical question so that the readers are left to ponder. The poet also wants the readers to form an opinion on the hidden question whether the caging of animals is justified or not. Okay, the poet says, does the elephant recall anything from his life before he was brought to the circus? Children, early in the morning when the sun is about to rise, what is the color of the sky? It turns from black to a lighter version, which is grey. So it is the time of dawn when animals and birds leave their nest. Animals and birds go and hunt for the food. The birds get up and go to search for food for themselves and their young ones. So it is a time of some noises being made in the jungle. What are the kind of noises? They are flapping of wings of the birds leaving their nest, sitting up on the branches of the trees, chirping there, then soaring up in the sky to find food for themselves and their young ones. There are noise of breeze blowing through the leaves of the trees, noise of crumbling of leaves when some animals walk on it. So does the elephant who is in captivity in a circus remembers those mornings that have now become his past? Does he remembers those old noises? This is the question that the poet is posing to the readers. Now let us come to the second verse. Does the elephant remember the cry of hungry beasts, the tiger and the leopard, the lion at his feast? Here the poet is wondering at the thought whether the elephant remembers the sounds emitted by the beasts when they are hungry. See, the babies of humans cry when they are hungry, and the elder ones, they can ask for food or find food for themselves because we have the facility of speech. But for animals, the only means of communication are the various sounds they emit when they need to communicate. So does the elephant remembers the various sounds emitted by the tiger, the leopard or the lion when they want food, when they are hunting, or when they are enjoying their catch as a feast. Point to be noted here is that all the animals are written with a capital letter, which means the animals are personified. We'll come to this figure of speech later on when we finish the poem. Now come to the third verse. Does his mighty eardrums listen for the thunder of the feet of the buffalo and zebra in the dark and dreadful heat? Here the poet tries to imagine that whether the magnanimous ears or mighty ears, mighty also means very large or humongous. So does his large ears still long to hear the thunderous sounds made by the feet of these big animals such as buffalo and zebra when they tramp in the jungle? Tramp means walk heavily or noisily. Here dark and dreadful refers to the tropical forest. The forests, these animals, they are found easily in a tropical forest. The forests over there are dark, they are thick, so the sunlight does not reaches the ground, and they are terribly hot. That is why the poet has referred to this place as dark and dreadful. Point to be noted here is dark and dreadful, the same sound coming together, which we'll cover later on, that what figure of speech it refers to. Alright. So now let us come to the fourth verse. In the fourth verse, the poet personifies the elephant as the king when he says, does his majesty remember? Does he stir himself and dream of the long forgotten music of a long forgotten stream? Now children, there is a sad undercurrent in these lines because a king is meant to rule, to be free. But here the elephant, which is the strongest animal, is unaware of his power when he is in captivity. So the poet says, does this strong and powerful animal ever goes back in his thoughts and stirs up his old memories? Does he ever dreams of the natural music, natural sounds, like the sounds made by the flowing of water in the stream, or the sounds made by the waterfalls, or the sounds made by the chirping of birds, or many other such natural sounds? So do all these memories stir him up and make him long for these kinds of music, or these kinds of sound, or this kind of natural habitat which he was a part of before becoming a prisoner, before coming to this circus? And these kinds of sounds are now long forgotten. So this poem poses a question to the readers whether the caging of animals is justified or not. Now we have finished the poem. Now let us come to the poetic devices used here. The first one is rhetorical question, which I told in the beginning of the poem. Note here that the poem starts and ends with a question. So a question here is being asked not to get an answer, but to put up a point more effectively. The second figure of speech is personification of elephant and other animals. The poet refers to the idea of the elephant remembering his past, recalling his days spent before his captivity, and his sense of longing to go back. All these feelings are related to humans. So when we give human-like qualities to animals or inanimate things, we are using personification as a figure of speech. Other animals are also written with a capital letter, and we know that only a proper noun starts with a capital letter apart from the beginning of a sentence. So all these animals and the elephant is being personified as longing to go back in his past, missing his old days and missing his freedom. The third figure of speech is alliteration, where the same sound is repeated in close connection, like dark and dreadful. So the sound d is repeated, d for dark and d for dreadful. Now children, let us come to the mood and tone of the poem. What is a tone? A tone is the arrangement of words by the poet to express his or her idea. And mood is the feeling that we get after reading that piece of poem. So the tone and the mood of the poem is sentimental, because the poet is stirring up our emotions regarding the topic of caging of animals. and the mood is obviously thoughtful with a sad undercurrent. Now, what is the message of the poem? The message to the young readers is to form an opinion on this subject and feel empathy towards these animals, towards the plight of these animals, because when these animals are trained, they are brought from their natural habitat and they are trained for the purpose of entertainment. This is not their natural life. They are trained by a trainer. They are kept and they are fed some kind of diet, and the training which they have to undergo might not be very pleasant. So, let us come to the purpose of this poem. The purpose or the underlying thought of the poem is to bring attention towards the snatching of independence of these caged animals. I hope these explanations are of some help to you. So if you like the video, please subscribe, share and comment. Take some time to comment, like and share. I would be really glad to hear about your opinion on this explanation. If you want more of such explanations of any of the poem, drop in a comment. I would gladly like to help. Bye bye. Take care for now. Let us meet in another video.